শুধু গান গেয়ে পরিচয় চলার পথে ক্ষণিক দেখা এটি শুধু অভিনয়।
If you're living with diabetes and have Medicare or private insurance, here are some great news. Call United States Medical Supply today, and we'll send you the smallest glucose meter in the world, absolutely free.
It only takes a speck of blood, and it gives me my results in 5 seconds.
And there's no coding for easier, more accurate results.
Don't let diabetes get in the way of living. Give us a call today at United States Medical Supply and get the smallest meter in the world for free.
আমার জন্য কোনো মানুষ কখনো জেগে থাকে না, শুধু জেগে থেকে লুম্বা ও জেগে থাকে।
একই জাতের কিনা
নিজের ওজন না বুঝে এতক্ষণ পক পক করলেন।
Bretz Coven Attorney at Law ইমিগ্রেশন ল সংক্রান্ত যে কোনো ধরনের সমস্যার সমাধানে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন।
আমাদের এখানে বাংলা ভাষা সহ আরো 15টি ভাষায় কথা বলা হয়।
প্রাক্তন ইমিগ্রেশন প্রসিকিউটর মিস্টার ব্রেটস দিবেন আপনাদের সকল প্রকার আইনি সহায়তা। যোগাযোগ 212-267-2555 732-313-0075 bretzlaw.com। Bretz Coven Attorney at Law ইমিগ্রেশন ল সংক্রান্ত যে কোনো ধরনের সমস্যার সমাধানে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন।
আমাদের এখানে বাংলা ভাষা সহ আরো 15টি ভাষায় কথা বলা হয়।
প্রাক্তন ইমিগ্রেশন প্রসিকিউটর মিস্টার ব্রেটস দিবেন আপনাদের সকল প্রকার আইনি সহায়তা। যোগাযোগ 212-267-2555 732-313-0075 bretzlaw.com।
প্রিয় দর্শক, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আমি শামীমা হোসেন স্নিগ্ধা আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি আমাদের নিয়মিত আয়োজন ইমিগ্রেশন বিষয়ক অনুষ্ঠান ইউএস ইমিগ্রেশন উইথ ব্রেটস কোভেন LLP। দর্শক, আমাদের সাথে নিয়মিতভাবে উপস্থিত আছেন অ্যাটর্নি ক্যারি, এবং আজ আমাদের সাথে স্পেশালি উপস্থিত আছেন অ্যাটর্নি মাইক ক্রোচ। উনি ক্রিমিনাল ডিফেন্স এবং পার্সোনাল ইনজুরি বিষয়ে হিজ পার্সোনালাইজ অ্যান্ড দোজ এই দুটো বিষয়ে এক্সপার্ট। দর্শক, আপনাদের আজকের যে বিষয়টি আমরা আলোচনা করতে যাচ্ছি সেটি ক্রিমিনাল ডিফেন্স এবং স্পেশালি ক্রিমিনাল ডিফেন্স এবং পার্সোনাল ইনজুরি বিষয়ক যে কোনো বিষয় নিয়ে, অথবা আপনারা যদি ইমিগ্রেশন নিয়েও কোশ্চেন করতে চান অবশ্যই করতে পারেন, কিন্তু আজকে আমরা চাই আপনারা কোনো কমপ্লিকেটেড ম্যাটার্স যেগুলা ডিপোর্টেশন অথবা এই জাতীয় কোনো ব্যাপারে আপনারা কোয়েশ্চেন করুন আমাদেরকে। দর্শক, আমাদেরকে প্রশ্ন করতে ফোন করুন 718-389-9600। চলুন তাহলে দর্শক কথা বলি আজকের আমন্ত্রিত অতিথিদের সাথে। Hello, Carrie, how are you?
Sharmina, great. Thanks for having us. And I'm really so happy to have Mike Croce with us tonight.
Yes, definitely. And Mike, welcome to our show, and we're really happy to see you here.
Shamina,
how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mike, as we know, you are a criminal defense lawyer, also as a personal injury cases you handle. I want to also know about your former, what you did before. So if you can introduce yourself to our audience so they know you much more. And if they have any question, definitely they could.
I always wanted to be a trial lawyer, and I got my experience. I got my first job with the Bronx District Attorney's Office as a prosecutor. I worked in that office from 1992 until 1999 and prosecuted all kinds of criminal cases.
Wow.
And after leaving the office in '99, I began working in the area of insurance defense, specializing in medical malpractice defense, so that I could learn the field from the guys, the doctors themselves, and that's what I did. I spent a number of years doing medical malpractice defense work, and then decided to open up my own office where I had a specialty in criminal defense as well as personal injury prosecution. So if people suffer an injury as a result of an automobile accident or a slip and fall, I am one of the attorneys who can bring their case for them and hope them get some type of compensation for it. On the other hand, if they are arrested, charged with a crime, my office handles all kinds of misdemeanors and felony criminal charges, and we represent individuals throughout the state of New York and in the federal courts throughout the state, throughout the country.
Okay. So you have handled so many criminal cases and so many personal injury cases. Do you think that is there any anything like it doesn't connected with the immigration, definitely. So for any criminal cases for our audience, like how they can contact you. You are associated with Bretz Coven, definitely, and they can contact you with the number.
Simply call the number that's on the screen, and I am right there. My office is part of the Bretz Coven suite of offices. It's one of the services that his firm has decided to bring to his clients to create a full-service, personalized legal firm for all your legal needs.
Wow, yeah, that's great. So hopefully we have some good questions. Maybe we will wait for the audience to ask if they have any criminal cases or personal injury cases to you. So meanwhile, Carrie, as usual, we talked about immigration cases every week, but today we would like to talk about more complicated immigration cases like deportation or frauds or criminal cases. So you wanted to explain a little bit about that.
First of all, let me just say, Mike was just so glad that he's there in our suite because he does everything that's not immigration, right? And 20 years of being in practice, how many times? Well, first of all, people from Bangladesh don't get arrested too often. But when it happens, oh my God, they always call who? Their immigration lawyer, right? You got me my green card, you got my family my green card, you got me out of my deportation case. And I've had various lawyers that I've referred to, but it's so great to have somebody in the suite who has access to our Bangla and Hindi-speaking staff, who, by the way, he's a humble guy. He says, he does big and small cases. He just completed a murder trial in which he got the guy acquitted on the defense of insanity, a very, very rare thing. That's a big deal. Not too many lawyers can even handle something like that. So he does that. He helps out some of my clients. We have a lot of taxi drivers. They have accidents. They don't know who to call, or they have too many tickets, or they get arrested for unlicensed driver. So all that. So I'm glad Mike's here. So having said that, what's the thing that people worry about all the time? What happens when the police or immigration come knocking on my door.
Right.
What are my rights? And something that's very interesting that Mike was just mentioning to me, and it's true, and we don't talk about it enough. Non-citizens, people who are here without documents, people with green cards have the same right as citizens. In this country, you're protected by the Constitution if you are physically here. So if you just crossed the border from Canada, if you came here with your picture and somebody else's passport, and you have the same rights dealing with law enforcement as a U.S. citizen. And basically, some of the rules to just keep in mind, and Mike will always say this, you know, the police really are your friend in most circumstances. You know, if you're in trouble, and I'm using his words, but if you're in trouble, that's who you're going to call. That's who you're going to go to for help. Right. And most cops are good cops. But you have a right in this country not to answer questions from police. Police come knocking on your door, you don't have to open up that door. If they don't have a court-ordered warrant, you don't have to say anything. But typically, people who come from other cultures get very nervous over law enforcement. And, you know, they hear that knock, and they're, you know, oh, my God. So you don't have to answer anything. You don't have to give your name, but you can't lie. So you're just better off not saying anything. And that would be the basic rule. Anything you would add to that, Mike?
Yeah, you know, the American system of justice is very different than any other culture, any other society out there.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Most people, especially immigrants, new people to this country, do not understand that concept of they don't have to respond to law enforcement. They don't have to respond to authority. They're so used to being guilty until they prove themselves innocent. That is not the rule of law here in this country. In fact, it's far better in certain circumstances for you to say nothing except I'd like to talk to an attorney.
It is absolutely great to have him here, actually, and it is a great opportunity for the audience too. So I would like to give them the opportunity to call and ask about their personal injuries or criminal defense, any cases if they have any. দর্শক, আমি যেটা বললাম এতক্ষণ, আমরা আজকের যে শোটি এটি অনেক স্পেশাল, কারণ মাইক খোরচ আমাদের সাথে সবসময় আসবেন না, উনি আজকে এসেছেন আমাদের শুধু আপনাদের জন্য। দর্শক, আজকে এই সুবর্ণ সুযোগটি আশা করছি আপনারা লুফে নেবেন এবং আপনাদের যাদের পার্সোনাল কোনো ইনজুরি, লাইক আপনারা পড়ে গেছেন, পড়ে গিয়ে কোথাও লাইক স্লিপ অ্যান্ড ফলস যেটা বলে, অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট কেস আছে, কেউ যদি ট্রাফিকের কোনো ভায়োলেশন করে থাকেন, অথবা আপনার গাড়ির কোনো ম্যাটার থাকে, আপনারা কল করতে পারেন এবং আপনাদের কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন থাকলে আপনারা জিজ্ঞাসা করতে পারেন মাইক ক্রোচের কাছে। দর্শক, উনি অলসো একজন প্রসিকিউটর, ডিস্ট্রিক্ট অ্যাটর্নি, যেটা উনি নিজেই বলেছেন। সো আপনারা আজকে যে শোটি দেখবেন সেটা অনেক স্পেশাল। দর্শক, আপনারা অবশ্যই এই সুযোগটি লুফে নিন। থ্যাংক ইউ দর্শক। ওকে, সো
You know, Sheena, maybe I can add something here and help out a little bit. I have found that a lot of people who come to this country are not aware of the fact that the courts here were created to be accessible by the people. It's one of the few countries where an individual who has a complaint, even against the President of the United States, can go to the courthouse and ask for justice. So individuals, especially people who are timid because they're new here or they don't feel like they understand the rules here, will often find themselves in a position where they might be taken advantage of. Or, for example, they'll suffer an injury in an automobile accident, or they'll fall on ice in front of their building because the landlord didn't properly salt or shovel. They will get hurt. They will go to the doctor. They will miss work. They will suffer a tremendous amount of medical bills. And instead of recognizing that the court system was created to give these people a place for a remedy, the place to go and get help, they simply, you know, stay in their apartment and absorb these bills and absorb the pain and don't look for the opportunity to go out and find compensation for their injury. The laws here were created so that people could not be victimized because when they did nothing wrong. And they suffered an injury. So it's important for people to realize that even though you feel like you may have been responsible because you didn't have the right boots or because you decided to go out and after it had snowed outside.
Most of the people actually think that
right.
maybe
they
it's
do.
my fault. Yeah.
But the reality is they may have a remedy at law, and they may be able to have all of those medical bills paid for. And in fact, they may even be able to receive compensation for lost work or for surgeries that they had to perform or for pain and suffering that they will suffer throughout the rest of their life. And it's very important that people, especially those new to this country, recognize that this is a resource that's available to everyone who is here. Whether you have legal status or not,
Absolutely.
the courts are available to everyone.
So you're, okay, you want to Sure.
It's fine. I would just add to what Mike is saying, that his last point is really important, especially for this show. If you are here illegally, if you, and I hate to use the term illegally, undocumented, you cross the border, you don't have, you don't have a green card, you're living in the shadows, you're working in a store over here in Queens because you can't get a different kind of job because you don't have status, and you are a victim of somebody's negligence. Classic example: you fell in front of somebody's store because their sidewalk is falling apart. They didn't remove the snow properly. You got hit in the rear while you were in a car and you hurt your neck. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not documented, I'm afraid I'm going to get deported. You're not. You have rights to seek redress in the court. And not that I'm bragging, but using somebody like Mike, who also has access to Bretz Coven Immigration Office, you're home free because you should exercise your rights.
Definitely.
And if there was any risk, Mike would tell you and I would tell you, and there really isn't any. So it's sad sometimes because we see so many cases that somebody gave birth and something went wrong and the child was harmed for life because of some kind of medical negligence. They didn't cut the umbilical cord correctly. They took the baby out the wrong way. The baby had some problem that wasn't attended to correctly, and that child is damaged for life, and people think because they were in this country without documentation, they can't seek redress.
Or
sometimes they think that I don't have documents, so who do I go? Maybe I will not have help. So that is a good
right. And Mike, I think Mike makes that point because he's a professor. Yeah. He's teaching law, and he knows, sometimes I forget myself. The courts are here to help us.
That's true. Sometimes we forget things or we don't know things because we don't go our coalition with those stuff every day. And absolutely, he knows better. And Mike, you are saying that if anybody don't have their legal documents, like if they don't have immigration status or anything, but they will have help. Absolutely. Definitely. And they can go to you or they can go directly to the court. That's what you are meant when you said that the court system.
The court system was created to grant access to everyone.
Okay.
And I would never suggest that an individual's try to bring a case in the court system without some type of legal advice or legal representative.
Definitely, that's for sure.
But clearly, there is the method of doing that. It's not necessarily the smartest way of proceeding. And I would say that one of the things that Mr. Bretz and I are responsible for doing is acting as your intermediary.
Right.
We allow you to have a voice without saying anything.
Absolutely.
We allow you to speak from the rooftops and never have to answer a question that's been presented to you until such time as it becomes absolutely necessary. So we give you the opportunity to seek redress, to seek the justice or the compensation that you deserve without you having to physically go out there and answer anyone's questions.
That's a great. And also, Carrie, you mentioned that if someone is wrongly treated, it could be an adult also.
that who is wrongly treated, and then he does not have a documentation, who can't.
Right.
They can seek help.
You go into a hospital because your arm hurts, and you come out with both your legs hurting. Something went wrong in the hospital. You can seek redress for that.
That's absolutely fine. Okay, we have a caller, so I would definitely want to explain what Mike says. It's a really important issue. But before that, I'm going to take the caller. Let's see what's his question. It's Islam from Florida. Hello, Islam. Hello.
Hello.
জি বলুন।
আপা আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। আপনার প্রশ্ন বলুন।
আপা আমি 2006 সালে ওই ডিভিশন কার্ড নিয়ে আসি 2006।
ওকে।
তারপর 2008 সালে আপা আমি মিসডেমিনার কেসে অ্যারেস্ট হই।
মিসডেমিনার
2008 সালে মিসডেমিনার বেটবি।
ওকে।
অ্যারেস্ট হওয়ার পরে আপা ওই যে কি বলে এটা প্লিয়াতে আমি
Did you understand what he said?
প্লিয়াতে আমি গিল্টি প্রমাণ হয়, আমার হয়তো ওই কমিউনিটি ওয়ার্ক হয়, ফাইন হয় এবং 1 বছর আমার প্রমোশন থাকে।
Probation. So
আমি প্রমোশন শেষ করে ফেলছি 2008 2009 আমার 6 বছর 8 মাস হয়ে গেছে প্রমোশন শেষ।
So 6 year হ্যাঁ বলেন।
এখন আপা আমি কি আমার সিটিজেন, আমার বউ বাচ্চারা সবাই সিটিজেন।
আচ্ছা, আপনার যে ডিসপোজিশন ছিল যে আপনার ফাইন করেছে এবং 1 বছরের প্রভিশন বললেন, রাইট?
আমরা হলো আপা বলি আপা আমি একদিন বলি প্লিয়া কি বলে আপনি জানেন না? প্লিয়া
is there any terms? Plea or
Yes, plea.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard plea, I heard disposition, I heard probation, and misdemeanor.
Right.
In Florida.
Okay.
That's what I got.
All right.
You have to fill in the Bangla portion.
All right. Hold on. He came in 2006, but he was arrested in 2008 with a misdemeanor.
Okay.
Then he got the plea on for 1 year probation.
Okay.
In 2009, he finished that. So now it's more than 6 years and 8 months if he can apply for citizenship. Do you have any question?
Maybe. This is Florida, the conviction?
Do you have any question for the
Yeah, is it Florida?
Yeah, it's in Florida.
It's in Florida. And what was it for?
আচ্ছা ভাইয়া, এটা কি কারণে ছিল আপনাকে অ্যারেস্ট করা হয়েছিল?
আমার তো ছিল আপা আমি একজনের সঙ্গে দোকানে কাজ করতাম।
হ্যাঁ।
এক মহিলার সঙ্গে পরে ও আমার হাত দিয়ে, বুঝছেন, হাত দেওয়ার পরে ওর বড় বোন আমার বিরুদ্ধে কমপ্লেন করে যে সে 18 বছর বয়স না, এই জন্য আমি অ্যারেস্ট হই।
Acha, okay. So basically he said that there was a woman, girl who used to work with him, and his older sister filed a case against him because the girl was underage.
Okay, so
kind of an assault or something.
Yeah.
Probably.
First of all, we probably...
So you don't have any other question to him?
No.
Okay, thank you ভাইয়া. Thank you Islam. আপনি আমাদের সাথে লাইনে থাকুন, আপনার প্রশ্নটি আনসার করা হবে. Thank you.
Almost for sure we're going to have to complete this privately, this conversation.
Okay.
My guess is, and correct me if you're wrong, Mike, you probably got some unlawful touching of a minor, something like that.
Correct.
So, you know, in most states in this country, although New York is very unique, in most states in this country, any sexual touching of someone under 18 years old is a crime. In New York, I think it's under 17, right?
Correct.
Okay. If you know, you touch somebody inappropriately, it can be a crime. Sadly, under immigration law, even though that's a misdemeanor in Florida, under immigration law, any sexual abuse of a minor, if this can be considered sexual abuse, and this is all legal terms, that becomes not only a deportable offense, but a deportable offense in which there is almost no waiver for. If he caught that case within 1 year of coming to the U.S., if it is not considered this serious ground of sexual abuse of a minor, but it's considered a crime involving moral turpitude, nevertheless, then it is still deportable if, even as a misdemeanor, if it happened within 1 year of admission.
Okay.
So, forget about let's talking about naturalization. Let's take a look at the disposition. Let's take a look at the statute and determine whether or not he's deportable for that. That's the first step, because he might be deportable, but immigration might not know about it.
Kerry,
right?
he mentioned that he came in 2006 and he was arrested in 2008, so it's
Right.
2 years.
Yes. So any CIMT, any crime involving moral turpitude committed within 5 years of admission, for which you could be sentenced to a year in jail, which most misdemeanors are, the person is deportable. Absolutely. And so, but immigration may not know about it, right? He didn't serve jail time. He did some probation, and he finished. So if he files for naturalization, immigration is going to learn about that conviction. He could maybe put himself in a worse position. So his calling is really smart, but the way to examine this is to get the full criminal file, take a look at the disposition. Fortunately, let's say it's the worst scenario, and let's say it is considered a sexual abuse of a minor, which is very grave for immigration, even though the criminal courts treat it relatively mildly for minor touchings. Depends upon the situation. Depends upon how old the alleged perpetrator is to the victim. You know, if the alleged victim is 10, that's a lot different than being 17. If the perpetrator is 50 years old, that's a lot different than if he's 22. All of that. But having said that, let's say it's the worst scenario in the world. Fortunately, in Florida, it is possible to go back to the criminal court to change the plea on the theory that I did not properly know the immigration consequences. And that's called post-conviction relief. So this particular person, he has a crime. It could be very serious under immigration law. It may not be. We have to see the disposition. Doesn't matter what he did or what they allege he did. We have to look at the section of law. Okay. And go from there. So he's certainly welcome to call the office, and we can do a private consultation.
Definitely, and he should do that before he goes to immigration, before he's exposed to immigration.
Definitely.
Yeah, and he should get that certificate of disposition.
Correct.
That's really the key thing.
So he can consult you by
great
by
question.
phone,
Good
definitely.
question.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Islam, আপনি আপনার যে প্রশ্নটি ছিল যে আপনি সিটিজেনশিপের জন্য অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করতে পারবেন কিনা, তো আপনার যে কেসটির ব্যাপারে কথা বললেন ক্যারি, খুব ভালো আপনাকে সাজেশন দিলেন। সেটা হচ্ছে যে আপনার যেহেতু এটা একজন অল্প বয়স্ক মেয়েকে টাচ করা বা অন্য কিছু হতে পারে যেটা আমরা এক্স্যাক্টলি জানি না, আপনি এই ব্যাপারে অবশ্যই ইমিগ্রেশনে কেস ফাইল করার আগে যেটা ক্যারি সাজেস্ট করলেন যে আপনি অবশ্যই একজন অ্যাটর্নির সাথে যোগাযোগ করুন। আপনি চাইলে ক্যারিকে সরাসরি ফোন করে তার সাথে কনসাল্ট করতে পারেন এবং আপনার ডিসপোজিশন যে আছে এটা আপনি অবশ্যই শো করবেন বা পাঠাবেন, যাতে করে সে আপনার কেসটি জানতে পারে এবং আপনার এই ব্যাপারে আপনাকে সাহায্য করতে পারে। সো ইসলাম, হোপফুলি আপনাকে আমরা হেল্প করতে পেরেছি এবং আশা করছি যদি আরও কোনো সমস্যা থাকে আপনি অবশ্যই আমাদেরকে কল করবেন। থ্যাংক ইউ ইসলাম, and we will go forward with Mike said. I would like to inform our audience about that court system and for the undocumented immigrants.
Well, let me, if you don't mind, I'd like to add on what you were saying before, and that is that anytime anyone has any type of a criminal record or criminal contact with the system that has resolved itself and they've gone on with their lives and now they want to petition for some type of status, it is always the first thing that they should do is go to the courts or have someone go to the courts and obtain a certificate of disposition. It is a document that spells exactly what the charges were and how it was resolved. Because very often people think they understand what the charges were, they think they understand what the allegations were, and very often they're wrong.
They're wrong.
Very often they miss it. And so that documentation allows Mr. Bretz to take a look at what the real scenario was and properly advise him about going forward with the
Definitely, and also immigration requires the disposition letter when you apply for something and you mentioned that you have arrested.
Right, and I'll just add something else too. It's very illogical. Now just think about it. This gentleman called up and he talked about a misdemeanor.
Right.
Most people say, it's a misdemeanor. No big deal. This could be conceivably a very big deal. He could be in risk of losing his green card. He could be in risk of being arrested and detained by immigration with no bail, if that is considered a sex abuse of a minor. So, and some things can be that are very, that are not so serious. And I don't mean to be, minimizing that women should be protected. But from a lawyer's perspective, the way the immigration law is applied to alleged criminal activity is not logical. Small things sometimes have a big effect in immigration, and sometimes big things have no effect. It is not logical. So besides getting that certificate of disposition, I would go even a step further. If you are not a citizen of the U.S. and you have been arrested on a criminal case, get immigration advice. Besides the criminal advice you have, get immigration advice on what the consequences are going to be if you accept some kind of deal.
Absolutely, as you have mentioned that before also for the audience, and as a tips you have given to that, and it is really necessary though, because we don't know what is the consequences of the criminal activities or the arrest or whatever the disposition that we have maybe it can affect. So generally no one can know except an attorney. So it is the better to have the consult and be free, and you know what's going to happen to you next.
It's the law. It's the law of the land that a criminal attorney has an obligation to advise his client that if there's a consequence, they have to see an immigration lawyer.
And also he mentioned that it is funny, but though sometimes it's a big thing, you go away with it, but sometimes small things can catch you and ruin your life. Yeah.
Every time I have a client who has an immigration status where I have a question, the first thing I do is run any possible plea bargain scenarios past Mr. Bretz, because I want to make sure that that individual's status in this country is not going to be jeopardized. And very often, as he said, it sometimes baffles me that a plea to something more serious will be better for them in their immigration case than it would be if they took a less serious charge in their criminal case.
Okay. So I would definitely tell our audience that what Mike explained, and it is really necessary to understand better the point of view, and also this is the country of law. We all know that. দর্শক, আজকের যে বিষয়টি আছে সেটা বেসিক্যালি দুটো ব্যাপারেই আমরা কথা বলছি, ক্রিমিনাল ডিফেন্স এবং ইমিগ্রেশন। সো আপনারা যতটুকু জানতে পারলেন বা আমরা যতটুকু জানতে পারলাম আমাদের স্পেশাল গেস্ট মাইক ক্রোচের কাছ থেকে, যে আমরা জানি যে এটা হচ্ছে কান্ট্রি অফ ল। এখানে রুলস অ্যান্ড রেগুলেশন অনেক বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, যেটা আমরা সবাই জানি, কিন্তু সামটাইম আমরা এটা বুঝি না যে আমাদের কোনো ফল্ট যদি কখনো থেকে থাকে আমরা কার কাছে যাব, আমরা কিভাবে অ্যান্সারটা পাবো, আমরা সলিউশনটা কার কাছে পাবো, আমরা কিভাবে সলিউশন করব। সামটাইম ক্রিমিনাল কেসেস থাকে এবং ইমিগ্রেশন পেন্ডিং আছে। সো আমি কি একজন ক্রিমিনাল অ্যাটর্নি নিব নাকি একজন ইমিগ্রেশন অ্যাটর্নির সাথেই আমি যোগাযোগ করব? দর্শক, এটা আপনাদের সবার জন্য জানা অত্যন্ত জরুরি যে একজন ইমিগ্রেশন অ্যাটর্নির পাশাপাশি আপনার একজন ক্রিমিনাল অ্যাটর্নিও খুবই জরুরি, যে দুটো বিষয়ই আপনাকে একসাথে হেল্প করতে পারবে। কারণ ইমিগ্রেশন অনেক সময় ছোট ছোট জিনিসগুলো ধরে না, কিন্তু অনেক বড় বড় জিনিসগুলো অনেক সময় তারা ওভারলুক করে যায়, কিন্তু অনেক সময় ছোট ছোট জিনিসগুলো তারা সেটা থেকে আপনাদেরকে বড় একটা প্রবলেম ক্রিয়েট করতে পারে, যেটা আমরা অনেক সময় দেখেছি যে ছোট একটা জিনিস নিয়ে ছোট একটা প্রবলেমস থেকে আপনাদের গ্রিন কার্ড নষ্ট হয়ে গেল, বা কারোর পেপারস বা অ্যাপ্লিকেশন ক্যান্সেল ডিনাইড হয়ে গেল। সো দর্শক, আশা করছি যে আপনারা আমাদের এই শো থেকে এই শিক্ষাটুকু অবশ্যই নেবেন যে আমরা একজন ডিফেন্স বা ক্রিমিনাল ডিফেন্স অ্যাটর্নি অবশ্যই জরুরি। ইমিগ্রেশন যদি আমাদের পেন্ডিং থাকে, অথবা ইমিগ্রেশনের জন্য আমরা অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করতে যাচ্ছি এবং আমাদের কোনো ক্রিমিনাল কেস পেন্ডিং আছে, সো দুজনের প্রয়োজনটা সমান। সো দর্শক, আশা করছি আপনার এই ব্যাপারে আপনাদের যদি কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন থাকে আপনারা অবশ্যই করতে পারেন। এবং দর্শক, আপনারা যদি মাইক এবং ক্যারির সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে চান, তাদের ইনফরমেশন আমাদের স্ক্রিনে আছে, আপনারা অবশ্যই কল করুন এবং তাদের সাথে কনসাল্ট করুন। আপনাদের যে কোনো ক্রিমিনাল ডিফেন্স, পার্সোনাল ইনজুরি কেসেস অথবা ইমিগ্রেশনের যে কোনো কেসেসের ব্যাপারে আপনারা যোগাযোগ করুন। তাদের ফোন নাম্বার, তাদের অ্যাড্রেস আমাদের স্ক্রিনেই আছে, আপনারা সেখান থেকে সংগ্রহ করুন। এবং দর্শক, আরেকটা জিনিস বলে রাখা দরকার, সেটা হচ্ছে যে আপনারা এবং স্কাইপে আপনারা সরাসরি কনসাল্ট করতে পারেন অন্যান্য যে কোনো স্টেট থেকে, যদি আপনারা কল করে তাদের সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে চান। থ্যাংক ইউ দর্শক, আশা করছি এইটুকু আপনাদেরকে হেল্প করবে।
Okay, Carrie, I have given the information that is needed, but there are some callers that who are waiting to, as usual, immigration question. Would you like to?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, definitely. So we will take some callers as for immigration questions we have. Okay, so we have Hamida from New York. Hello, Hamida. হ্যালো হ্যালো হামিদা আপনি কি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন হ্যালো ওকে লাইনটা হয়তো কেটে গেছে ওকে the line probably got disconnected we have another caller Hassan from New York Hassan hello yes Hassan ji hello হাসান আপনি আপনার টিভির ভলিউমটা কম করে তারপর আমাদের সাথে কথা বলেন আপনি ফোনে কথা বলুন আপনি টিভির ভলিউমটা প্লিজ কম করুন কথা বলার আগে হ্যালো
হ্যাঁ শুনতেছি
জি বলেন
আমি বলতেছি আমি আমার ভাইয়ের জন্য 2001 এ অ্যাপ্লাই করলাম অ্যাপ্লাই করার পরে আমি ওকে আনবো না করে যখন ভিসার ইন্টারভিউ ঢাকা এম্বাসিতে তখন আমি এম্বাসিতে একটা ইমেল দিলাম যে আমি তাকে আনবো না তারপর আবার কিছুদিন পরেই আমি আবার এই কেসটা রিওপেন করার জন্য আবার মাইন্ড চেঞ্জ করলাম তখন আমি আবার ইমিগ্রেশনে চিঠি দিলাম যে আমি আমার ভাইকে আনতে চাই কিন্তু এই 12 বছর পর ওরা এইটা এখনো ওদের কাছে পেন্ডিং সেটা 2011 এর ডিসেম্বরের 8 তারিখ ওর ইন্টারভিউ ছিল কিন্তু ইন্টারভিউ ওরা নেয় বললো যে তোমার ভাই তোমাকে নেবে না ও সে কেস ক্যান্সেল করছে তারপর আবার এখানে যখন আমি যোগাযোগ করলাম ওরা শুধু বলতেছে ওয়েটিং লিস্টে আছে তুমি ওয়েটিং লিস্টে এগুলি আমাকে 2-3টা টিকিট দিতে
ওকে হাসান আপনি
এই কেসটা কি আমার হবে রিওপেন হবে
ওকে হাসান আপনি কবে এটার জন্য লেটার পাঠিয়েছিলেন রিওপেন করার জন্য কারণ আপনার
রিওপেন করার জন্য পাঠাইছি তা 1 বছর আগে সরি ওই 3 বছর ধরে 2011 থেকে
আপনি 2011 এ 8 জুন বললেন আপনার ইন্টারভিউ ছিল রাইট ডিসেম্বর
ছিল
ওকে ওকে আর আপনি রিওপেন করার জন্য কবে ইয়া করেছেন জানুয়ারিতে 12 জানুয়ারি ওকে থ্যাংক ইউ হাসান আমি আপনার কোশ্চেনটি পেয়েছি আমি কোশ্চেনটি আনসার করার চেষ্টা করছি আপনি আমাদের সাথেই থাকুন Carrie, his question is like he applied for his brother in 2001. Everything was done and he called for an interview in Dhaka and he went for an interview. Meanwhile, the brother has changed mind. The brother who applied, the petitioner, and he sent an email that he doesn't want to, he wants to cancel the case. The interview happened in December 2011 and then again in a month he changed his mind again and he sent an email again to reopen the case and still now showing the case is pending. So what can he do about this case?
Yeah, well, it really depends upon how Citizenship and Immigration Services and the Department of State handled that request from the petitioner. You cannot complete the petitioning process without the petitioner. You have to have the petitioner on board from the beginning to the end. So if and you have to because you need the petitioner to do an affidavit of support and some other things. So until the person actually gets the visa and comes to the U.S., if the petitioner withdraws it, it's withdrawn and it dies. Can't bring it back.
Okay.
Which is sad on a fourth preference, which takes 12 or 13 years.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, it is conceivable that they never really adjudicated his withdrawal. It's very difficult to withdraw if you don't do it properly.
Okay.
But if they sent a notice saying, "Okay, we've canceled the petition and it's over," generally the file is destroyed some period of time after that, and it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Here it sounds like they filed something and either it was withdrawn and CIS did consider something with the motion or was never properly withdrawn to begin with. Because a petition from 2001, that would be current. We're up to, I think, around April of 2002 now. I would be curious to see what is said online when you look up the EAC number. But a petition from 2001, that should be adjudicated by now. So something is wrong somewhere if their last correspondence was in 2011.
Okay, so what do you have to do? He can.
Well, yeah, I'd like to see the petition, the motion to withdraw, the letter to withdraw, see what happened after that, and see what it says online. So this is a good case for a consultation.
It's like to withdraw a case, you have to. If you send an email, it doesn't.
Yeah, essentially, you know, let's say I petitioned for my spouse in Bangladesh, and you know, right before she goes for the interview, you know, I get mad and I withdraw it. That's it. It's over. I have to file a new petition. You know, it's almost the same as if somebody dies. The petition dies with it. There are ways of reinstating it, but it has to be done very timely and very quickly because they destroy the files after that. They're destroyed. They don't last forever.
Okay.
But I would be curious to see the sequence here of events.
Definitely. And if you said that it can be done by email. Like if you send an email, it's withdrawn. You don't have to send a motion. Letter. Or something.
No, I know of no case where Citizenship and Immigration Service has adjudicated, accepted anything by email.
Oh, okay.
So normally you would have to do something by writing, and that's why I think there's something missing here because he's saying that it shows that the case is pending, but a case from 2001 should have been adjudicated about a year and a half ago. So something's off somewhere. And that's why I'd like to see the sequence of events. And maybe it's just a matter of having a lawyer put it back on track. That's a possibility.
Definitely. And also he said in 2011 he had the interview, and if he reinstate the case in 2012, beginning of 2012, it's 4 years
yeah, there's something there's something not right. Yeah, so
definitely.
And perhaps
you cannot hold it for 4 years without notice.
Right, and perhaps it's just a matter of contacting the Department of State in Dhaka, and maybe not.
ওকে হাসান, আপনার যে কোয়েশ্চেনটি ছিল যে আপনার ভাইয়ের জন্য আপনি তার কেসটি আপনি উইথড্র করে এবং আবার স্টার্ট করার জন্য যে অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করেছেন, সো ক্যারি যেটা বলছে যে এটার মধ্যে কোনো সমস্যা আছে যেটা আপনার অবশ্যই আপনার ফাইলটি দেখলে সে বলতে পারবে যে কী সমস্যা আছে এবং আপনার কেসটি কী অবস্থায় আছে। সো আশা করছি আপনি আইদার ক্যারির সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে পারেন অথবা আপনার কোনো অ্যাটর্নির সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে পারেন। থ্যাংক ইউ। Okay, so I guess that'll be it. And coming back to Mike, Mike, you have given us a lot of information about personal injuries and criminal defense and how we can have some service from our court system. It is actually a good opportunity to know actually that we can go to court or we can have some benefits even we don't have any legal papers and we're living in shadows. And some people really sad, as I have a person I know that he fall and he break all of his teeth from the front, and he have a what do you call
a pin.
I guess they have to put something fracture, but they have to put something in there to cast kind of things inside so he can move his fingers or hand. He cannot put his hand. So he had a very major injury from working from a departmental store. He fall from the ladder, actually.
Wow.
So
New York State has very favorable laws for employees who fall from height while doing certain types of work.
Mike, I have the question is like he's undocumented and he had been. It's a very old case. It's a very old case. He had treated. He had taken care of a criminal attorney though, who had sued the company. But the thing is like he does not have any immigration status.
Immigration status does not affect an individual's right to bring a lawsuit for personal injury that's suffered on the job, or suffered while working, or suffered while merely living. So an individual should not allow their status here to prevent them from seeking some type of compensation in the courts. The courts are a branch of government. They're just like the Congress, just like the executive, the governor, the mayor, the president. The courts are there to serve the people.
Right.
And here we have access to that. and you should always seek legal advice when you suffer an injury.
Yeah, definitely. I brought this question because there are many people who have severe injuries like that, but they have no clue where to go and what to do. So
let me just add one thing. There are laws that limit your time to bring a lawsuit. And so if you suffered an injury, you should speak to an attorney immediately, because there may be laws that limit your time to bring a suit to compensate you for your injury.
Okay, that's really a great tips. I'm taking that as our tips of the night today. And Carrie, do you have any tips for our audience, as we don't have much time?
No, Mike has a great,
Yes.
Mike's tip is great, but in lieu of a tip, I would just say, if I ever get in trouble for anything and I get arrested, Mike's the guy I'm going to call, okay?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're hoping our audience will take that opportunity to get a help from a great attorney in our New York City and all over the United States. Probably you can help.
Well, I'm licensed in New York State. I can serve in the federal courts throughout the country.
Okay, all right. That's a good thing that you can help throughout the country. So দর্শক, আজকে আমরা এ পর্যন্তই শেষ করছি এবং আমাদের দুজন অ্যাটর্নি যে আজকে ছিলেন, একজন পার্সোনাল ইনজুরি এবং ক্রিমিনাল ডিফেন্স স্পেশালাইজড এবং আর একজন আমাদের সাথে রেগুলার থাকেন, ক্যারি। সো দর্শক, আপনারা যদি স্পেশাল সুযোগটুকু নিতে চান, দর্শক আপনারা কল করতে পারেন আমাদের associate Mike Croce is associate with Bretz Coven. So আপনারা Bretz Coven LLP তে কল করে আপনারা তার সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে পারেন এবং তার সাথে কনসাল্ট করতে পারেন। দর্শক, আজ এ পর্যন্তই। আমরা যাদের ফোন নিতে পারিনি, আমরা অত্যন্ত দুঃখিত। আমরা আশা করছি আমরা আবারও ফিরে আসব আগামী সপ্তাহে। সে পর্যন্ত আপনারা সুস্থ থাকুন, ভালো থাকুন, দেখা হবে ইনশাআল্লাহ। ওকে, খোদা হাফেজ।